some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their club. That pisses them off.
I was young, manipulated, and I was a puppet.
Let's take rap music.
Let's take it.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons. You know, the records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry. You know, a lot of artists are frustrated with this kind of music making. You know, a lot of people, you know, feel like they're being controlled by the label. This is how they do it.
To the point where all my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares.
Let's keep it all the way real. The entertainment industry isn't just glitz, glam, and Grammys. Behind the smoke and mirrors is a ruthless, cutthroat system that demands more than talent. It demands loyalty to a game most people don't even realize they're playing. But every now and then, someone refuses to play by the rules. And in this case, it's two names who've seen it all and live to tell about it: Ice Cube and Vanilla Ice.
Did they manipulate you?
No, I'm
Never.
I'm an independent artist. Always have been. I started off on independent labels.
So how were you able to avoid
and-
this trap that so many others fell in? What did you do right?
I wouldn't let an A&R go in my studio. Like, you're not coming in here telling me how to make a record.
Right.
I'm come from the heart. I'm gonna do what I feel. So I never allowed an A&R to. I never had anybody A&R me, but Dr. Dre. You know. So
that's pretty.
I just wasn't ever going for it, and you know, they just kind of like let me alone do my thing. And I was on the independent label like Priority. I wasn't on a major. And majors, you know, they do it with singers, they do it with rappers. They have a lot to say in what's the finished product.
You might know them for their music, their cultural impact, or their time in the spotlight. But what they're saying now is even more powerful than any verse they've ever spit. Both Cube and Vanilla have stepped forward with brutally honest takes on why they distance themselves from the twisted underbelly of the industry. And trust, it wasn't just about creative differences or label drama. It goes deeper than that. Vanilla Ice has recently made it crystal clear. He walked away from the industry because he saw the game for what it really was. No more illusions, no more pretending. He's been vocal about the dark energy that surrounds the higher levels of fame, the manipulation, the exploitation, and the sacrifices that come with trying to stay on top. According to him, there's a price for success that he just wasn't willing to pay. He made a choice to protect his peace, his soul, and his sanity, and now he's finally talking about it. And then there's Ice Cube, one of the realest to ever do it. Cube didn't just dip his toe into the industry, he ran it, reshaped it, and then made a decision to not let it run him. While others got caught up in the politics, the power trips, and the pressure to conform, Cube stayed rooted. He said it before, and he's saying it again. He doesn't play the Hollywood game, and he's not here for the fake love and fake agendas. He never sold out, and he never will. In a world where fame often comes with a cost, where people are silenced, compromised, or even sacrificed just to stay relevant, Ice Cube and Vanilla Ice chose a different path. They refused to join the club. They didn't just survive the industry. They saw through it, exposed it, and walked away with their integrity intact. Now they're telling their side. And once you hear it, you might never look at the industry the same way again. Now for both of them, there have been a lot of different reasons why they didn't join the club to become a part of the system. Vanilla also said the same story about how, if you refuse to join the club, you end up with nothing.
This is a quote that you said in one of your interviews. You said, at one point in my life, I didn't even know who I was, what my purpose was. I didn't want to live anymore. With hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, I didn't give a shit about life. Who I am today is a complete flip the script opposite of that, and just super grateful, man, for my family, for my kids. And that's the meaning of life, man, the true meaning of life.
100%. We can go around as a young person in this globe and see life in a different way. And then you know what happens is, I shook this whole globe up, you know, like a snow globe. I shook it up. And you think reality is what you see in front of you, and then the snow globe kind of settles a little bit, and then you find out that none of it was real. It was all artificial. It's all just entertainment world. It's all on how people view you, even you. And you find your purpose, you find out who you are. And I didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? Like, I know Justin Bieber could definitely use some advice. Yeah. Lost. Because with all the success, nobody that, especially with what happened to me, 10 times even bigger than Bieber, because, or anybody, because of being me and white and who I am. And at the time, it was something far more impactful, if that makes any sense, for people to hate on or take a punch at or anything, right? So it was a groundbreaking thing that really was, and probably could have killed me in many, many ways. Not just the Suge Knight way but suicidal way, to the point where all my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares.
For years, everyone just assumed Vanilla Ice disappeared because he was a one-hit wonder, a pop rap gimmick who flamed out just as fast as he blew up. But that's not the full story, not even close, because now the truth is starting to crack through the surface, and it's way darker than anyone expected. According to new reports and what Vanilla Ice himself has hinted at, he didn't fade away. He walked away on purpose. He wasn't pushed out by the music charts or changing trends. He was being pulled into something he knew he had no business being a part of, something sinister. At the height of his fame, Ice was allegedly approached by powerful music executives, the same type of gatekeepers we're now hearing about, in connection to some of the biggest scandals in the industry. He was invited into the inner circle, the secret parties, the so-called rituals, that dark underworld of the entertainment industry that so many artists have warned about, but only after it's too late. But Ice, he said no, and that might have saved his life. Behind the scenes, he reportedly faced insane pressure to conform, to play the game, to keep quiet, and to take part in disturbing hazing rituals that some claim are part of the process to climb the ladder in the entertainment business. Things that weren't just about fame, they were about control, about breaking a person down to remake them in the industry's image. Vanilla Ice didn't just resist, he exposed it. In interviews, he's been brutally honest about how everything he thought would bring him happiness turned into a nightmare. The fame, the money, the attention, it was all a trap, a shiny mask over something much darker. And when he refused to play along, the machine turned on him. Some close to the situation claimed that after he rejected those offers and those invites, his career was quietly smothered, not by fans, but by the system itself. That's how this world works. If you don't comply, you disappear. And for a while, that's exactly what happened. But what's different about Vanilla Ice is he survived. He walked away. He got out. And instead of chasing fame, he found clarity, purpose. He realized what the industry didn't want him to understand. None of it was worth his soul. Now, with more artists speaking out and more secrets coming to light, Vanilla Ice's story hits different. He wasn't just a chart-topping rapper. He was someone who stared the darkness in the face and chose to step back before it swallowed him whole. And he's still here to talk about it, when so many others aren't. Back when Ice Ice Baby was dominating every radio station, Vanilla Ice wasn't just the hottest name in pop culture. He was a prime candidate for industry control. What looked like a fairy tale rise was actually the beginning of something much darker happening behind the scenes. While fans saw the flashy clothes, chart-topping success, and screaming girls, the industry's elite saw something else. A profitable puppet. A fresh, young face they could mold, manipulate, and pull into their secret world of power plays and rituals. These weren't just business meetings and handshakes. We're talking about the alleged freak-off parties, the kind of exclusive off-the-grid gatherings where careers are either made or ruined. At the time, Diddy was still in the background, learning the ropes from the same people who allegedly tried to recruit Vanilla Ice. Names like Clive Davis and Charles Koppelman come up often in these conversations. These weren't just execs with deep pockets. They were connected to something much bigger and much more covert. And Vanilla Ice, he was right in the crosshairs. Fresh off the massive success of his debut album To The Extreme, Ice had everything they wanted: fame, influence, and the public's attention. But unlike many others, he didn't fall for the bait. He saw the industry's push, the attempts to drag him into private events, secret meetings, and strange elite circles. And instead of playing along, he backed out, not without consequences. The shift was fast. One moment, he was everywhere: music, movies, even turning down marriage proposals from Madonna. The next, He was gone from the mainstream radar, branded as a has-been, a joke, or a one-hit wonder. But that narrative was carefully crafted, because what really happened was far more complex and far more threatening to the system. Vanilla Ice rejected the game. He refused to sell his soul for another hit record. He refused to become someone else's property in exchange for fame that came with a price, and he paid for that independence with his career. There were stories of close calls, chaotic fan events where things got out of control, Hollywood pressure, label battles, even strange rumors surrounding the people trying to control his image. Ice wasn't just escaping celebrity culture. He was running from something real. Behind the smiles and magazine covers was a young man being pushed towards something he didn't fully understand, but instinctively feared. And before the machine could consume him, he slipped away. He didn't disappear because he couldn't handle fame. He left because he could see through the illusion. The industry didn't spit him out. He spit out the industry before it could swallow him whole. And now, years later, as more stories come out about what really happens behind closed doors in Hollywood and the music biz, Vanilla Ice's quiet exit makes more sense than ever. He was never a one-hit wonder. He was a near-miss sacrifice, and he lived to tell the story. By 23, Vanilla Ice was living every artist's dream, but behind the scenes, he was barely surviving the nightmare. The world saw a flashy white rapper with a Billboard #1, one-hitting screaming fans, but the industry, they saw a pawn, a shiny new toy to exploit, mold, and discard once he outlived his use, and the setup was perfect for them. At the time, Ice was young, marketable, and unknown to the politics of the business. They put him in front of the cameras, shoved a label-crafted backstory into the press, and pushed a carefully scripted image to maximize profits. He wasn't just selling music, he was being sold. The labels knew it, the execs knew it, and soon enough, Ice figured it out too. What fans didn't know back then was that behind the bright lights, Ice was being courted by some of the darkest forces in the industry. Rumors of freak-off parties and initiation rituals have been whispered for years. Secretive gatherings hosted by elite power brokers, designed to test loyalty, break spirits, and pull artists deeper into a system that's built on control. At the center of it all, allegedly, the same circles that would later be linked to Diddy and his rise. But Ice was one of the early ones. Before the cameras turned to Diddy, Vanilla Ice was already being pushed toward those doors. Powerful names like Charles Koppelman, Clive Davis, legends in the business, allegedly had their eyes on him. They didn't just want his music, they wanted his obedience. But instead of falling in line, Ice chose defiance. He pulled back, he resisted, he walked away, and the machine didn't like that. What followed was a brutal backlash. He became a punching bag for the culture. Critics tore him apart. His backstory was picked apart. Arsenio Hall publicly grilled him. Fans accused him of faking his roots, and hip-hop turned its back on him, on cue. But Ice later revealed it was the industry who wrote the bio, crafted the Miami lie, and made him the face of a novelty act. He was just trying to keep his personal life private, but once you step out of line, they flip the narrative on you. Despite the hate, Vanilla Ice wasn't some privileged outsider. He grew up lower middle class, never knew his real dad, worked random jobs, and hustled his way up in a mostly black scene. He wasn't handed a thing, he earned it. He battled, breakdanced, and bled for it, literally. At one point, he was stabbed 5 times, nearly died, and still came back swinging. That's not a gimmick, that's survival. And yet, when he didn't comply with the industry's agenda, he was thrown to the wolves. But not everyone turned on him. Artists like Tupac, MC Hammer, and Public Enemy gave him respect. Tupac especially stood by Ice. He recognized that Ice was being used as a scapegoat and told him straight up, "You're dope, and you're going to leave a legacy." That kind of support didn't come easy, especially in that era, but it meant everything, and Tupac was right. Vanilla Ice may not have stayed in the spotlight, but he left his mark on the industry and lived to tell the truth, something many artists never get the chance to do. While others got sucked in, broken down, or even worse, Ice got out. He paid the price with his career, but he kept his soul. So when people say he disappeared, let's set the record straight. Vanilla Ice didn't fall off, he escaped. Let's get this straight. What happened to Vanilla Ice wasn't a fall from grace, it was a calculated escape. While the world was distracted by media headlines clowning him as a one-hit wonder or calling him fake, something much deeper and darker was playing out behind the scenes. Back in 1990, at the height of his fame, Vanilla Ice found himself face-to-face with Suge Knight, one of the most feared men in the music industry. And no, this wasn't just a casual business meeting. Suge reportedly rolled up with 6 guys, roughed up Ice's security, and made it crystal clear. He wanted a cut of the money from Ice Ice Baby, or else. Whether or not Ice was physically dangled from a balcony, he was definitely put in a terrifying position. And just like that, he learned how ruthless the industry really was. But what did Ice do? He didn't run to another label. He didn't sell out. He didn't turn into someone's puppet. He got out. See, Vanilla Ice saw the game early. The manipulation, the freak-off parties, the twisted power plays, the way the industry grooms young stars and bleeds them dry. He said no. And that one decision, it probably saved his life. The same elites who tried to pull him into their world eventually did the same to others. Some got chewed up, some went missing from the public eye, and some, like Suga, are now sitting behind bars. But Ice, he flipped the whole thing on its head. While the music execs and gatekeepers played their tired power games, Vanilla Ice went and built a whole new life. Real estate mogul, general contractor, reality TV star, and most importantly, a clean, successful man on his own terms. No handlers, no rituals, no blood on his hands. He walked away from the spotlight, stayed grounded, and ended up creating something real, a legacy that outlasted the hype. And now, fans are finally giving him his flowers, because looking back, he beat the system, while others chased fame until it destroyed them. Vanilla Ice made the smartest move of all. He left the circus, kept his soul, and built an empire outside the walls of Hollywood. Now the real question is, how many more artists wish they'd done the same, because not all of them got to escape. Not every artist made it out like Vanilla Ice. Some took the deal, some played along, some were groomed, exploited, chewed up, and spat out by the same machine Ice refused to be part of. And while they may have gotten the fame, the Grammys, and the mansions, they also got something else. Broken souls, haunted eyes, and in some cases, total destruction. Diddy is the name now tangled in every dark rumor coming out of the industry. For years, he was seen as the kingmaker, the mogul, the guy who made stars. But behind the scenes, a different story is emerging, one filled with whispers of manipulation, secret parties, coercion, and power games. The very culture he helped build is now turning on him. And whether the lawsuits and stories are true or not, what's clear is this: that kind of success came with a cost. Now, he's not just a mogul, he's a symbol of everything the industry tries to hide. Usher, another megastar who reached heights most artists dream of, has also been through the fire. A product of the industry from a young age, he was groomed by the very same machine that turned boys into icons. And with it came pressure, perfectionism, and the dark side of fame. He rose, he conquered, but at what cost? He's battled lawsuits, personal demons, and years of public scrutiny. It's the same pattern we've seen time and time again. Let's be real, many artists who made it are actually prisoners of their success. Think about DMX, a lyrical genius with raw emotion in every verse, but he struggled with addiction for most of his life. His music was filled with truth, pain, and spiritual war because he lived it. He cried out about demons, not metaphorical ones, the real ones. And in the end, he couldn't outrun them. Britney Spears, groomed from a teen, thrown into the global spotlight, and eventually stripped of her freedom in front of the whole world. People laughed when she shaved her head, but what they didn't see was a young woman being controlled, puppeteered, and finally snapping under the weight. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Amy Winehouse, Avicii, Prince, the list is long and heavy. They had it all, but still felt empty. Fame didn't save them, it devoured them. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. This industry doesn't care about your talent. It cares about your usefulness. And once it's done with you, you're disposable. The bright lights, the parties, the riches, it's all bait. Once you're in, they mold you, market you, and drain you. They put you in rooms you can't unsee. They introduce you to substances to keep you compliant. And if you try to leave, you either disappear quietly or you unravel publicly. These artists didn't fall off. They were pulled under. So while the world mocks people like Vanilla Ice for walking away, maybe they should ask, what did the ones who stayed really get out of it? And more importantly, what did they lose? The good thing is that now, people like Vanilla and Ice Cube are finally speaking up. For Ice Cube, it was a lot of rebellion. Let's be clear, when Ice Cube sat across from Bill Maher on Real Time, it wasn't just about one man saying one word. That moment turned into a bold, unfiltered mic drop on the entire entertainment industry. And Cube handled it with the same calm intensity that's made him a legend.
It's to keep a construct. It's to keep things working the way they are. To keep certain people relegated to the bottom of the pyramid.
Sure, everyone remembers the headline, Mar dropped the N-word on live TV. But what Ice Cube did next wasn't just a clapback. It was a teaching moment wrapped in truth. Cube didn't yell. He didn't make a scene. He just looked Mar dead in the eye and said, "It's not just about that word. It's about the whole attitude behind it." And that's where it got real. Ice Cube called out something a lot of people in the industry don't like to admit. The entertainment world has a long, dirty history of crossing the line, especially when it comes to black culture. Whether it's the casual appropriation, the tokenism, or the politics behind who gets a seat at the table, Cube made it clear. He sees the game for what it is, and he's not playing it.
It irks me that anyone has that kind of power over anyone. We all have a choice without horrible consequences to accept or deny, but there is an evil in Hollywood that many know but won't say. Cube, thank you so much for keeping it real and being your own boss. You're not alone. I pray that God keeps you safe. On the other hand, a few of them are actually calling Ice Cube out for spreading misinformation without concrete evidence.
That wasn't just aimed at Maher. That was aimed at an entire system that profits off black art, black pain, and black stories, while pushing the actual people behind them to the margins. Ice Cube's stance? Simple. Don't exploit the culture if you're not willing to stand with the people. He's been consistent with that message for decades. From his NWA days to his solo career to his independent film moves, Cube has made it clear he doesn't bow to industry politics and he won't compromise to make powerful people comfortable. Bottom line, Ice Cube doesn't just speak truth to power, he walks it. And the industry knows it. Let's stop pretending this is all about music or movies. Ice Cube knows what this industry really is. A machine that doesn't just produce content, it manufactures people. The whole goal? Mold young talent, manipulate their minds, and turn them into obedient members of a twisted club built on exploitation, silence, and control. And Cube? He's one of the few who saw it early and never bought in. Before he became a legend, Ice Cube was just a kid from South Central Compton, surrounded by crack pipes, sirens, and the kind of systemic oppression most artists are too scared to speak on. But unlike many, he didn't run from it. He put it on wax, unapologetically. From his earliest days with NWA, Cube helped form a group that didn't just make noise, they made enemies. Their 1987 debut, Panic Zone, was only the beginning. By the time Straight Outta Compton dropped in 1988, the industry didn't know what to do with them. No radio play, no label support, no commercial polish, and still, they went platinum. Why? Because the people were listening. And Cube, he was telling the truth. And that's exactly what the industry couldn't control. See, most artists are taught to play the game, follow the script, don't ruffle feathers. But Ice Cube refused. He didn't just rap about police brutality, he called it out by name, forcing America to hear what it had tried to ignore. While the major labels were looking for polished, palatable acts they could exploit, Cube was out here burning their blueprint. And that's when the industry started to see him as a problem. Because what most people don't realize is this: injustice isn't a glitch in the system, it is the system. The same machine that profits from pop stars also feeds off violence, incarceration, and social division. So when Cube exposed it all through his lyrics, he wasn't just rebelling, he was interfering with business. He was too raw, too real, and way too fearless for the Hollywood elite. While other rappers were being molded into marketable products, Cube stayed dangerous. He didn't beg for radio spins, didn't change his message, and definitely didn't join any secret society to get ahead. He walked away from major label politics and carved his own path. From a Mary KKK's Most Wanted to Death certificate, he doubled down on his truth. Behind the scenes, insiders knew Cube didn't play ball with the industry club. Not with Diddy, not with Clive, not with the gatekeepers. He refused to be groomed, refused to be controlled. And what did he get for it? Respect, longevity, freedom, but also industry blackballing, media silence, and exclusion from the so-called inner circle. Why? Because the same things that made Cube great also made him dangerous to the structure. A structure that, let's be honest, profits more from silence than rebellion. And if you're wondering why Cube still doesn't show up at certain parties, get invited to those industry roundtables, or bow down to celebrity politics, it's because he never wanted the invite. He built his own lane, on his terms. So while some artists sold their souls for a seat at the table, Cube flipped the table over and said, "I'll build my own." In a conversation that touched everything from secret power structures to AI-driven entertainment, Ice Cube dropped the kind of truth that makes execs sweat. He sees through the illusion, and he's not afraid to talk about it. The real danger in this industry, according to Cube, isn't just who runs it, it's how they run it. From the top down, they're not just looking for stars, They're looking for followers, people they can groom, shape, use, but it's deeper than distraction. It's about molding artists into tools of the system. They pick the faces, fund the images, push the trends, but behind it all, there's always a price. And Ice Cube never wanted to pay it, even when success was dangled in front of him. When the flashy invites came from industry insiders, even Diddy, he didn't bite. Read between the lines. The kind of success he's talking about comes with strings attached. The kind that gets you access to the club, but at the cost of your soul, your voice, your authenticity. Cube wasn't interested in playing nice with gatekeepers, and he sure as hell wasn't going to join their little circle of influence. He didn't want to be molded. He didn't want to be owned. He's seen how the industry works, how it seduces young artists, makes them feel chosen, then chews them up and spits them out once they've served their purpose or start asking the wrong questions. The flashy cars, the award shows, the brand deals, it's all bait. Meanwhile, the real ones get silenced, sidelined, or sold off to the highest bidder. But Ice Cube, they couldn't silence him, and they couldn't mold him. That's why he's still dangerous. That's why he still has a voice. And that's why the industry would rather you forget him than listen to what he's really saying. Ice Cube's not just calling out the industry, he's exposing its blueprint. And if you're paying attention, he's not warning just for himself, he's warning for the next generation. Because the machine is still running, the club is still recruiting, and the price of admission, way too high for anyone who actually wants to keep their soul intact.
I think they all around. You know, I don't think it's worse than any other profession.
Ice Cube has never been one to play by the rules, especially not the ones written behind closed doors in Hollywood. Long before his name carried weight in music, film, or culture, Cube was already skeptical of the machine behind the fame. And now, he's speaking more openly about what many have only hinted at for years. There's a club, and it runs deep. He's not in it, and he never wanted to be. The entertainment industry has always been more than just talent and timing. There's a structure in place, an unspoken hierarchy, where access, exposure, and long-term success often depend on whether you're willing to go along with the program. That program includes keeping quiet, staying in line, and playing the game, even when it means compromising your values. But Ice Cube never signed up for that. Not now. Not ever. He recently acknowledged the existence of something more sinister beneath the surface of the industry. While he hasn't had direct run-ins with these so-called gatekeepers, he sees the signs, how some careers are fast-tracked while others are quietly shut down, how certain artists seem to get limitless support while others are buried the moment they start speaking truth or stepping outside the box. It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. What really sets Cube apart is that he's never been desperate for approval. He's not chasing invites to the big industry events or aligning himself with the so-called elites to stay relevant. Even when he brushed shoulders with power players, including big names like Diddy, Cube made it clear the kind of success didn't interest him. To him, real success is freedom, artistic, financial, and mental. That's a threat to an industry built on dependency and image control. Cube has always seen the entertainment world as a system that preys on the young, the hungry, and the naive. It molds them, shapes them, and turns them into polished, predictable products. And if you don't comply, you're out. It's a cycle that repeats itself across generations, and the industry counts on artists being too eager or too scared to resist. But Cube didn't just resist, he walked the other way. Even when he formed genuine connections with other artists, like Jamie Foxx during the late 90s, it wasn't about politics or clout. It was about real respect, shared values, and creative energy, the kind of bond that doesn't come with contracts or conditions. At the end of the day, Cube doesn't need the club, and that's exactly what makes him dangerous to it. He's a reminder that you can make it on your own terms, and that's something the system would rather keep quiet. And these two aren't even the only ones who said this stuff out loud.
What is worth doing for ratings? I understand what is worth doing when the industry is canceling one black guy. I know what happens when they are going to elevate another, and I know what happens when they don't care about either of them. This is how quarterbacking go. So the question is, hey, your quarterback just got sacked. Did we know we was fin to sack your quarterback? We absolutely did. It was a play, buddy. We've been rehearsing it, working it out, making sure that at some point, when you get to this level, we can make sure we knock you from a $20 million man to putting in the news that people won't hire you no more and your career is done. Yeah.
So you said it was a setup.
You can do all of that.
You saying it was?
I'm saying that everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend, that seems like a setup, is.
So what do you think? Comment down below and let us know. If you like this video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I post updates like this every week where I uncover the secrets of your favorite celebrities.